My name is Michael O'Grady. I work with Efficient Farm Systems. So I'm here on the farm of Paddy and Richard Daly in Mine in Tipperary. They have a 200 cow herd and it's a calf to beef system with the dairy enterprise as well. They have a lovely herd of cows here, and about a year ago, probably the journey is a little bit longer than that, Paddy and Richard decided to go on to the SenseHub heat detection system with an associated draft and gate with it. So we're just going to chat for a while to see what brought Paddy to that decision and talk a little bit about his farm. So Paddy, tell us a little bit about your farm here.
Yeah, we'll be milking 200 odd cows this year. As you said, about a year ago, we decided we needed something to make life a little easier and to be more accurate with breeding and AI and all that. So we looked at different other options, but we opted for the heat time. We installed it about last March. Very efficient, very accurate, does exactly as you expect it to do. Tremendous backup service from your company now, I have to say. No huge teething problems. We installed it, put up the drafting unit, the whole lot. Very easy to work off your phone or computer. Yeah, before that we were tail painting. Tail painting is grand, but it is a chore. You know, for the first week or two, you'll be very efficient.
And how often were you topping them up with tail paint?
About once every 4 or 5 days at first, but then as the weeks progress, you get a bit lazy and it becomes a chore, and you just, you're not as efficient as you should be.
And how did you draft the cows at that stage? So you saw that the cow had the scratches gone off her back. Yeah. How did you draft her?
Run out in front of them when they're going out after the milking parlour and shoo them up the crush.
And did you find that a little bit stressful for yourself and maybe for the cows?
Even more stressful for the cows because it took twice as long during AI to clean out the parlour afterwards because, they'd be just...
And did it slow down the milking a little bit?
It would a bit too because the odd one might break away and, you go distressed in of getting that one back and all the rest.
But you've had very, very good fertility levels with the paint. So why did you decide then to go for an automated system or a heat detection system?
To make life a little easier, but also to compact the calving a little better.
Okay.
We probably had good conception rates anyway. In around 10% is our barn rate, failure rate, whatever. But calving did drag on a bit, and we already see it from this year. We had about half the cows calved in the first 3 weeks.
That's fantastic.
So, and there's about half left now, but obviously the second half will take a little longer than the first half.
And you hoping that will the overall calving period be a little bit shorter?
Oh, I'd say so. I'd say by the end of March,
okay.
It'll be done and dusted.
And what would it have been before? Would
be some of them dragged into April and maybe the odd one into May.
Okay, so there's a financial benefit apart from the stress of calving a cow.
Also with the app, we can see straight away the probability of dosing calf.
Okay.
So we probably pulled the bulls earlier this year. You go through the list. It gives high, low, medium.
Brilliant.
So the more that's in the higher, the more confident you are. That's more of them have that
they're in calf. So when you got the systems, how do you work it? How do you find it? Like, do you work it off the app? So obviously the cows got the collars in last March, was it? Okay. So what happened after that then?
It takes a week or two, well, maybe 3 weeks for the system to recognise the cows and
their patterns
and all that. Once we got going, bringing in the cows morning and evening, you open the app, it'll give you the list of the cows in heat, and it'll give you those that are ready to be AI'd, and you just swipe across them to sort them. Then they'll just automatically be sorted, waiting in the pen for when you're AIing.
Oh, that's brilliant. And you were saying that it's timed, so obviously the way the system works is once the cow gets to peak restlessness, which is peak heat, it then has a clock to time down over that 26 hours. So at what stage do you try to AI them? Do you work it off the system, off the little app?
I always work it on between 8 and 23, I think, is the prime numbers for AIing. So whenever they're within that zone, I'll AI them.
And did it take you a while to get used to it?
No. After a week, you become fairly efficient with it. It's like any bit of technology. You fool around with it. You can't mess it up by pressing the wrong button.
No. Okay.
So you just from using it becomes second nature.
So after you ordered it, what happened?
After I ordered it, first thing I had to do was get Wi-Fi, which was into the office here in the yard, which was the biggest delay. But the technicians arrived one morning. They installed the drafting units. At the same time, we put on all the collars on the cows, and then you have to put in all the information of the cows onto the app or onto the computer. And then after that, it was basically ready to go.
So talk to me about the drafting system. Why did you get the drafting system?
I think you're kind of defeating the purpose of the collars unless you have the drafting system to go with it, because they go hand in hand. It's all about making life easier and more accurate for yourself. Basically, just to make life a bit easier and save a bit of time,
And how have you found it? Is it catching the cow? Is it catching all the cows, or is it missing many of those cows that you want to have coming through?
It's rare that it'll miss a cow.
That's good.
I have to say, because of the backup service, it came at one stage there during last year, it was missing a few of them, but the technicians arrived in the yard one morning, and it was just a matter of millimetre settings on the sensors, because we probably have bigger cows, so they just had to move the sensors to suit bigger animals. It was missing the odd one, but since then, 100%.
And do you use the drafting system for anything else apart from the heat?
Actually, very, very handy. We didn't know it at the time when we bought it. For drying off, we'd draft the cows we want to dry off, say in the morning, and leave them out in the paddock, and the following day bring them in and dry them off.
It is great for that, isn't it?
Absolutely great, actually. No hassle. You just go out after milking the cows you want are in the yard. They're separated. You just let them off onto a bare paddock, bring them in that evening or the following morning, dry them off.
And would you do a similar thing if you're going maybe foot batting or trimming cows or something like that?
That's for cow you want to take back for foot batting or hoof trimming or for whatever.
So obviously the system is able to pick up the heat of the cows, and as you said, you're very happy with that. From the health side, what have you found?
Yeah, it does pick up. Maybe during the year when you're milking your cows twice a day, you're looking at the cows, you'll probably 9 out of 10 times you'll pick up a sick cow. Where it really comes into play is a dry time.
Perfect.
When you mightn't be walking through your cows every day, or you definitely wouldn't be looking at them twice a day. It has picked up one or two of them over the winter. One cow now, she had pneumonia, which I hadn't spotted, and got her.
So
out.
what happened? So how did you know that she was ill?
I got an alert on the phone.
Okay. Like a little text, was it?
Yeah. Which was unusual, and just saw her, picked her out, and when I stood her up, I knew there was something wrong with her. Got her out, got the vet to her. She had pneumonia. She got treated. She was right as rain after a day or two.
And did you see any symptoms?
I didn't. No, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because it's amazing. You see, basically cows don't want to show their weakness. This cow doesn't want to show any weakness anyway. The cows don't want to show their weaknesses to other cows, so it's a stoic trait that they have. So generally, they're trying to show that they're actually quite healthy, even though they're actually a little bit sick. So the system is designed to pick up the ruminations have dropped, her eating behaviour, her moving behaviour will have changed. So then it'll send you a signal to say that she's sick. So do you plan to use it now? Because obviously after the cow's calf, within 30-35 days, she'll be back cycling again. And we have a report in it that'll tell you the cows that's not cycling then, so before you go to the breeding season. Do you plan to use that report maybe to be able to talk to your vet if your cow's not cycling or whatever? Or what are you thinking about doing that now in the next month?
I will, Michael. Definitely, I reckon it'll be more efficient this year because the cows will be on it for 12 months, so it'll have a whole profile built up of the cow. Any of them that's cycling or non-cycling, I actually did it last year. You get a report, pick them out. A few of them saw to the vet. There were no major issues.
Is there anything? Did any collars die during the year? Or how did all that go? How have the collars performed? How has the system performed just physically for you for the last year?
They all worked. None of them malfunctioned. Not that I know of anyway. No. If any of them are down or battery's gone, it'll let you know. But no, it hasn't been an issue. And also, it's very easy for when you're culling cows. You just go to the app, remove the collar or change the collar to another cow. It's just a click, job done. You reuse the collar then on a heifer or whatever. And
have you seen any updates? Because we provide automatic updates. Have you seen any updates on the device?
There's a new update there recently, actually. Yeah. I presume I haven't been using it much, but I presume it's more efficient.
Yeah. So what it's doing now is it's looking at the cow in that 10 days before she calves, from day 260 up to 278. More finely see if there's any issues going on, and then from day 278 when she's calved on, it's keeping an eye on her during that transition period to see if she's so it's looking at her more closely, so it'll tell you if anything's going on.
Now that you say that, I did get an alert for a cow she was into calve. She calved there this morning. You know, obviously, it picked something up, but
Yes.
I didn't pay any attention to it.
Yeah.
I just thought she wasn't eating much because she was close to calving. But yeah, it was the new update.
That's the
that
new
was
update.
it. So yeah.
So it was a big investment for yourself and your brother. Obviously, you were deciding that you wanted to save a bit more time and maybe compact the calf. And how were you able to decide which one to go with, and how did you justify it? Because it was a big investment when you include the drafting system as well.
Yeah, it is a big investment, but it's a long-term investment. We looked at others and we spoke to people who had the heat time and nothing but good reports about it. So we met Alan and we did a deal with him. We were happy with the arrangement and we went for it. 10 years time we're going to still have it. You know, it's not something you use and throw away after a couple of years. Initially it's a big investment, but it's a long-term investment.
Long-term investment, okay. So obviously when you invested in a paddy, there was an investment cost and all that, and obviously you're moving away from a completely different way of doing it. Tail paint and monitoring the cows, and then the physical movement of the cows, stopping them coming out of the parlour. Did it take you a while to get confidence in it, or how?
Yeah, it did, Michael, of course. It's like any new technology, you have to be sure of it and build up confidence, but confidence comes with using it. When you see it actually works. I'm sure this year now it'll be more efficient because we'll have 100% confidence in it. We won't be afraid to use it.
And did you continue to tail paint at the beginning, or did you just say, no, I'm going to trust this, I believe what's going to happen?
We didn't tail paint. We just we gambled on it.
I'm sure you like doing a little bit of painting.
No. That's part of the reason we put them on. You'd be sick of painting it. It's a job. It's another extra job you have to do.
Okay.
It's all about time management and making life a bit easier for yourself. The hard work is taken out of it. It's just they're drafted UAI and blam off, job done. And with the app it keeps an eye on them and we know exactly what's happening. It's the next best thing to having a bull with your cows the whole time, the collars, because it'll tell you exactly what's
that's very good.
What's ready for AI.
Okay, that's very good. Paddy and Richard, we're delighted to be part of your farm here. As you can see, it's a great setup, great cows. I just want to thank the lads for their time, and you're more than welcome to ask us questions later on.
I'm Alan Heaney from Efficient Farm Systems, and I'm here today with Liam and Jim Delaney outside Portlaoise in County Laois. Liam started with heat detection health monitoring collars about 2 years ago, and I think you bought 70 heifers in advance of your robot coming. And tell us a little bit about Liam. First of all, tell us a bit about the farm, and then about the collars that you put on the heifers.
Yeah, when myself and my dad and my family made a decision to go into the milking, when we did buy the robot, the first thing we do then is go maybe start looking up maiden heifers and trying to look up good ones. So we had Progressive Genetics, Sean Hayes, our Progressive Genetics, he was sourcing heifers for his maiden heifers. So we purchased 52 maiden heifers in the spring of 19. So then I was home one night, I was thinking about this robot and collars and stuff, and I said, God, wouldn't it be great if I could get the collars onto the heifers and try to get them in calf. And this was before any robot was landed or any shed was done or anything. It was the first after buying the heifers, it was the next thing we done. So I rang Alan and I asked him out today, would there be any possibility of getting the collars off you 9 months earlier. So he said he would. So they came out and they put up an antenna at the shed over there, and that brought in the whole field of 38 acres. So when we let out the heifers on the collars, we had this little green box in the shed, and it look at every morning and evening, and it shows up all the ones that were in heat, and it shows up the exact times to AI them at and everything. So we're sort of blown away with this small bit of technology, how good it was, and we trusted it 100%. We didn't tail paint, we did nothing else. Lads said, "Oh, tail paint, do this, that and the other." No, we did nothing. We just put the colours on them and just kept an eye on the little green box morning and evening, and we got every one of them in calf, and so much so that the all calf were in 6 weeks last year. And it was very happy with the system, and you're saying again this year, but they're not as compact this year. Second calvers weren't as compact, but overall extremely happy, and it takes the worry, and you're not at home thinking, I wonder if there's something bulling now, or you're not looking at them morning, noon and evening, you're just...
That's good. So essentially what they are, they're the SenseHub collar. It comes in a collar and also in an ear tag. and it measures activity, so which is your heat detection, your health monitoring, your early illness detection, rumination, eating, lying, resting, and all those multi-metrics that make up a cow's or a heifer's behaviour. In this situation, it was a little bit different, as we mentioned. Liam decided to put them on the heifers in advance of the robot. And I suppose, Liam, what time of year did you put them on, and how quickly did you start seeing the activity being generated, and then at what time did you go in and AI those heifers?
I think we started AIing them about the 25th or 6th of April. So I think it was around 2 weeks before we started AIing. So you want 2 or 3 weeks on for the system to get a bit of data on them and to find where their baseline is. So then if their activity goes up over the baseline, then they're in heat or whatever. And then if their rumination is low, if they're sick or whatever, that'll show up as well. So
good. So you would have got good results. Liam, how easy is it to interpret the data, and how easy is it to follow the user interface? And how quickly can you identify heats and then act on that notice?
They will be bulling for maybe an hour or two before it probably picks them up. But that's all the better, probably for AI. So you don't want to AI them too soon.
Yeah. The way the system kind of worked in this farm is the antenna was put up on the apex of that shed, and it kind of works on it's not a full 360, but it'll work up to 800 metres on a direct line of sight. So if you can see kind of the orientation of the farm, we nearly have full visibility of all the animals at any one time. So that data is sent from the collar of the cow through a radio wave back to the antenna and then onto a phone. So it's done very quickly and very simply, but this farm is so ideal. It's flat and you can see all the cows from the yard. Now certainly we can probably see all the cows from the top of that shed.
Well, that's the maybe the advantage of a small amount of acres, but we're small farmers. But it'll also pick them up behind it. Like the antenna is on the pillar of the shed there now, and it will actually pick up the cows in the shed that's actually behind it as well. So how far back behind, I don't know how far go, but it will pick them up behind it as well.
In terms of a milking parlour, it's just a little bit different when it comes to heat detection and health monitoring. So if the cows go beyond range, well, all that data is stored in the collar, so that when they walk in onto that roadway or into the collecting yard, it's all picked up. And cows then come and present themselves for milking twice a day. So that data is picked up very, very quickly. It's downloaded through the antenna and back into the phone. It happens in minutes, so it is. So where the farmer then can make a decision whether to draft a cow, AI a cow, treat a cow, separate a cow, or let the cow back into the bunch. You're doing it twice a day, so it's different here. You're bringing the heifers in twice.
The big advantage of having your maiden heifers and having them in calf using the collars is that we could pick our own the straws to put them in calf too. So now we have 18 heifers, Frisian heifers, coming on stream now to go in calf this spring. So it's great having the ones that you wanted to pick yourself on the system. If you buy heifers that were in calf, they mightn't been suiting our system, because we're sort of pushing production fairly well with a Holstein British Frisian cow. So it's important to have the right heifer. So the fact I had collars and had them in calf at the right sires, it means an awful lot.
Perfect. So I suppose, Liam, is what you're saying, you got a head start in advance of the robot coming. So you got time to breed your heifers with the right straws to right calves coming subsequent year after. So it was a smart move, to be fair.
Well, it was better than going buying an Angus bull and letting them out with maybe 50 top class Frisian heifers. Like you'd be, you're down big time as regards money wise worth. Them Frisian heifers are even worth a good few pound even at the minute. Like,
I suppose as well with a major surge and an interest in robotic milking, and also a massive now interest in heat detection and health monitoring, probably more people are going to follow what you did.
But even besides the robot, even anyone in the parlour, there's massive interest in the whole heat detection and colours. Like it's good for everything. It's good for your breeding season. It's good for your milk and your cows. It's quicker the cows are calved quicker, and they're out to grass and they're producing milk rather than not in calf. Like every cycle, 3 weeks is vital to your money at the end of the year.
So in terms of a farmer looking at a rotary or looking at a milking parlour or looking at a robot, what advice would you give to him in terms of heat detection, health monitoring collars?
Well, sure, it's a no-brainer in no matter what milking system you're in, let it be rotary or parlour or anything. The heat detection collars, I think, is nearly a must.
So Liam, I suppose the next question I have is, okay, you have the heat detection health monitoring collars on the cows for almost 1 year. Now you put in your robot. How well does it work in terms of communicating with the robot and then drafting and segregating that cow after milking?
It works even better because you're not going out morning and evening to bring in your heifers or bring in your cows. The way this set up is ABC grazing, and C grazing is from 6 o'clock in the evening until 2 o'clock in the morning. So if there's a heifer in heat during the day, she'll be, when she goes into the milk, she'll be drafted into where the headlocking barrier is, and she'll be left there. But if she's in heat at 6 o'clock in the evening, and or say 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, and she's you don't want her left in the yard all night, so she's sent back out to C, and she doesn't go back to A. But then, and from 7 o'clock in the morning before we come down, then if she comes back in from C, she's kept in the pen. So at least that you're not going to have a cow in the yard all night. They can go back to C until 7 o'clock in the morning, and then when you're down then at 6:30 or whatever it is, we can just say them and let them on back to A then. No, but it's handy when you come down in the morning. If you have 6 or 7 to be AI, they're all there independent waiting for you. It's very handy that way. And as labourers, you're saving time, and it's a great job. Oh, we scanned earlier on. I think we've about 62 out of 70 to calve in 6 weeks. We've about 4 weeks into our calving now, and we've 46 calved. But that's the panic is over now. It's going to be sort of slower from now on. Like, we had one cow not in calf because I didn't put her in calf because she was a bad milker, and she had 3 spins, and she used to go not line the cubicle, so we didn't put her in calf. And we milked her on through the winter because we bought some cows and milked them on through the winter as well. And she, I locked her into one of the cubicles and we got trained into the cubicles, but still we didn't put her in calf. So look, long story short, no, they're all in calf bar one, and that one we didn't put her in calf.
What is it, in terms of the numbers, the metrics, what's your 6 week in calving rate?
I think this coming year it'll be about 88 or 9%.
So another feature that most people are interested in now, rather than just heat detection, because heat detection is over in 6 to 8 weeks in the middle of the summer, people are looking at the health monitoring piece. And the key piece of that now is the eating algorithm and also the rumination algorithm. And what we're finding is a cow that's gone off for eating, then subsequent to rumination will fall, and it gives you that early illness detection and allows you to go in and intervene. A lot of people ask, what's the price or what's the cost of these products? They're getting very, very popular. There's a lot of farms getting into them, and whether it's robotics or rotaries or milking parlours. But I suppose it's fair to say roughly costs about 15 quid to 20 quid a cow per year, depending on the volume people are buying. Liam, what do you pay? About 110, 120 quid a collar?
Oh yes, yeah, around 115 or 20 euros a collar, yeah. But you're looking, it's money well spent. When you break it down, if you have a cow calving 3 weeks earlier, by getting her, it's paid for in the year.
Yeah,
already.
and in terms of how long they last, you talk about 7 to 8 years. But the main thing is there's 5 years flat warranty in these products. So for the next 5 years, Liam will have absolutely no outlay. And that's 5-year flat warranty as opposed to 5-year scale warranty. Scale warranty is warranty that reduces. So I suppose for the next 5 years, Liam, you have no extra cost. Guys, we're going to sign out from the Delaney family here today. I want to thank Liam and Jim for having us here. I hope you find it informative, and look, ask plenty of questions later.
I'm here in Rosenallis with Walter and Kathleen Murphy. As you can see, they have a lovely herd of cows here, a nice little pit here beside us. So we're here to talk about an investment that they made a number of years ago. So prior to that, they were spending a good bit of time monitoring the cows out in the fields, tail painting and heat detection in a more traditional way. And 3 years ago, they made a big decision on the farm. So Kathleen, maybe you talk to us a little bit about your farm here, about the cows, about what you tried to do in the herd.
Right, Michael. Well, we have an 80 cow dairy herd here, and as you say, 3 years ago we went for the sense time because the heat detection was becoming a bit of a trial. When it comes to the time of scanning for cows, and you see that some of your best cows are not in calf, that's very disappointing. So to avoid that scenario, we decided we'd have to do something, and we looked at the sense time, and we decided to go with that system, and we haven't looked back. In fact, we wouldn't go back to where we were. we're delighted with the system, and it's working well.
So maybe we'll talk a little bit about before you went on to the automated heat detection system. How were you going about the diagnosing when the cows were in heat and when they're ready to be inseminated?
It was just a simple system like everyone else was doing, tail painting and monitoring and being out there morning, noon and night and trying to see.
So how many times a day did you go out?
Oh, you'd be out 3 or 4 times a day.
And would you
as well as milking, and you'd be trying to spend as much time as you could. And
how long would you think you'd spend? Would you spend half an hour each time?
Oh, you'd half an hour.
Half
an hour easily. Yeah,
okay.
Half an hour, and you'd be trying not to disturb the cows as well as everything else. And but the whole thing, since we put in the Sense Time, you learn so much about heat detection and about how cows come in heat, how quickly cows come in heat. There's just a certain window, and if you don't get in that opportune window, you're at nothing. And sometimes cows can be very deceiving. They can come into the heat in the middle of the night or early morning, and by the time you might see signs, you've already missed so much of the window and all of that. So
how did you go about researching, what products you were going to go with? Or it was actually a completely new journey for you.
Yeah, it was
and obviously quite advanced technology as well.
It was a completely new journey. I just saw it on the journal, and just gave a ring and rang Alan, and he explained about it. And then there was a neighbour of ours up in Rosenallis. He started around the same time as well, and so we learned a bit from him as well. So when Alan came out, he just explained to us, and it seemed like a no-brainer to go ahead with it. And it took a bit of getting used to now, I have to say. It wasn't all plain sailing.
So talk to us about after you got it. So what happened on the day the product was installed?
When the product is installed, the tags come in and you just tag them. It's simple enough. It's just like the yellow tags, and you tag them all. The most important thing is to synchronise the numbers that you get with your tag and upload them all onto the system. So we have them on our phone and we have them on the laptop.
And I see you have a base station up there on a pole out in the parlour.
Yeah, all there, got in the broadband to suit and everything, and so it is up and running. So it takes a week or so then before it's kind of up and running and everything's all go. The great thing is that you can look at your cows at night when you come in. You can sit down and you can have a look and you can see what's happening, what's coming in heat, and and also, apart from the heat end of it, you can also see if there's a cow going to be sick. You're actually seeing her before she actually presents. So there's no surprises when you go out in the morning in the field or anything.
Maybe talk to us a bit about that. Have you had many alerts to say that a cow is sick? So maybe give us an example.
Yeah, we had a few alerts. We had a few like milk fever. We had a couple with milk fever, that certainly would have been down the next morning, when Walter would have gone out. Okay. So it averted that kind of thing. And
so what happened? You got the text on your phone, and then you went out to look at the cow.
Yeah, that she's in distress. The distress signal comes up, and and you just look up, and you can see that the cow hasn't been eating. She hasn't been active. She hasn't been, ruminating. So you go down and you have a look, and you can see that that she hasn't been right. Because a cow that's in good health and working right will be chewing the cud like your one here now, and they'll be ruminating and they'll be happy and everything. But
so, what do you think of the fact that it tells you that she's ruminating? What do you learn from that?
Oh, well, the cow is actually she's working. She's totally working, and she's producing milk, which is what you want her to produce.
So when you get the notification to say that the cow is in heat, what do you do then?
Yeah, well, you're watching the window then, and you can see the peak activity, and you're monitoring it the whole time. So you know exactly. Walter does his own AI here now, so he's all set up. So you're watching then the peak time. Whether he's going to AI AM or PM or middle of the day or whatever. Like, you have way more control over this. That you're not just guessing. It takes all the guesswork out of heat detection. The big thing is we're going to have no stragglers this year. We're going to have no cows calving in sort of the end of April, May, which you'd always have a few, and they're a nuisance at that time of the year. So we're going to have none of that. So the whole thing has compacted because you have more control over it. We're looking at them at the moment now. We've started already yesterday looking at cows that have calved early February now, and how they're cycling and or not cycling as the case may be. So of course, you're more interested in the ones that are not cycling. You're picking up like whether you need to get the vet, get them washed out, get them sorted before, you know, so as you can see what's happening. So that's why I say you're way more in control of it, you know. And sometimes cows will have silent heats as well that you can't pick up.
So do you think that this is picking them up?
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. Oh, it definitely picks them up. Yeah, picks up everything.
So Kathleen, maybe you tell us about how long it took for you to get used to the system, and maybe the cows to get used to the system, and when you got confidence that you didn't need to worry about monitoring the cows and all that kind of experience.
It doesn't take that long now to get used to the system. Like once you have all the information inputted and everything, and it's on your phone, so it's with you all the time. So you can look at it whenever you have a spare minute. You can look at it, even at lunchtime. You know, you'd be finished your lunch, you'd sit down, you'd look at it, you go through it, you'd look at your cows. So it doesn't take that long to get used to it. But the confidence in it takes a bit longer because, you know, and I suppose the day when your confidence really grows in it is the day you do your scanning, your first scanning, and you see, you know, oh, it's matching up with the cows, you know, that we've inseminated and their times, and everything is kind of coming together. And that's when you have the real confidence in it. You can't do everything, you know, you're coming out of a busy calving season and you're flat out with everything, and then you're straight into a breeding season, you know, so you need some help, you know, and definitely we wouldn't be without it now, as I say.
Kathleen, maybe, you know, it's quite a big investment. How do you feel that it has gone? Has it been worth it, or how do you feel now 3 years into the project?
Oh yes, Michael, definitely it has been worth the investment. I know it is an investment when you start off, but the good thing about it is you can spread the investment over, you know, over a number of months or whatever. But definitely, I mean, the last thing you want is empty cows. So, you know, it's costing you 250 euros every time a cow is empty. So, I mean, it's not, you know, small money. No, it's not small money. And when you add it all up, it would be, you know, it's paid for pretty quickly, you know, so. That's
good. And why did you decide for the tag? Because you can see that your
we went for the tag because it's number one, it's cheaper than the collar. Well, the cost was 80 euros per tag. And it was a nice simple system, and we decided to go with that first. And you know, we can always change over with the collar. Even at this stage now, we're thinking of going with the collar maybe for the heifers and see how they get on.
How that goes, okay, yeah. as the next step up.
Okay. As the next step up, yeah. So
I'd like to thank Walter and Kathleen for having us on the farm. They seem to be very happy with the system, and we're looking forward to your questions now later on.
Good evening there, everyone. Just like to welcome the speakers on tonight. So first and foremost, I want to welcome Paddy Daly from mine in County Tipperary. Good evening, Paddy.
Thanks, Alan.
And Liam Delaney, all the way from Portlaoise.
Thanks, Alan.
No problem. Walter Senior, Walter Junior, and Kathleen Murphy from Rosenallison, County Laois.
Hello, Alan.
Hi, Alan.
How's it going?
Murphys. And finally, John Heslan from MSD Animal Health. Good evening, John.
Hi, Alan. Hi, all.
Good. So I suppose I'm going to kick it off, John, with a question for yourself. So I am, not to put you on the spot, but there's been questions coming in, John, about MSD and their interest in this type of technology. And obviously, everyone would know MSD from the human and animal health in terms of vaccines and wormers and drenchers. But why would MSD be interested in this technology, and where do you guys see the market in terms of 5-10 year view down the road?
Yeah, first of all, thanks very much, Alan, and well done to you and the EFS team. I feel like I'm on screen with a lot of celebrities now after watching the last 35 minutes. They're the new celebrity dairy farmers. But I suppose from an MSD animal health perspective, Alan, MSD purchased the Allflex brand in 2019. And the reason being, the animal health industry is a rapidly evolving industry with revolutionary digital solutions to manage animal health and well-being. And fundamental to this is livestock monitoring, but indeed the identification systems that we already have here in place in Ireland. I suppose MSD Animal Health followed the holistic approach. So while they are an animal health company, it's very much about genetics, management, nutrition, and indeed animal health. And central to that is the preventative approach. And they purchased the monitoring technology system of SenseHub because it is extremely accurate in terms of the health monitoring system, as all our farmers mentioned today. But I suppose we're in a unique position here in Ireland to take advantage of the heat detection because of the importance of or compact breeding season, as each one of the farmers mentioned. One of the fundamental pillars of the MSD approach is connecting people and animals. And as all of our speakers said tonight, that's just exactly what the system does. So it really is a perfect fit for the MSD portfolio.
Excellent. Thanks, John. So I know yesterday was International Women's Day, Kathleen, and it's fitting to have a woman on screen. And I know you have lots of help in your household, and I know you're a busy house.
Oh, yes.
So we're going to ask a question to maybe each and one of you in the house, and I suppose, Kathleen, for yourself, how easy was it for you guys to use? Firstly,
it was very easy to use, Alan. The system is very easy to set up. Once the lads arrived and set it up, and we set up the broadband, it was just a matter of us getting out and tagging the cows. And as I say, the most important part of it is inputting the tags and the numbers, proper numbers to each cow into the system. And then the app is very easy to follow. The whole system is very easy to follow. And, you know, it takes a couple of weeks for it to get up and running, but you do get used to it. And as I said before, it's with you on your phone, it's in your pocket. You can take it out and look at it any time. And there's no hassle with it at all.
Excellent. When I was speaking to you earlier, Kathleen, about the we're doing a check on sound and the internet, you did say that Walter Senior was bringing in 6 or 7 cows this evening. And I know you guys calf earlier on in the year. You had quite a bit of activity. Walter, you might explain what was happening as you're bringing the cows in this evening.
Well, it was yesterday evening there was a couple of cows jumping on in heat, like, you know. So instead of trying to look and see what cows are in heat, or even looking when you go into the yard, I just pick out the phone, look at it, and you know exactly what cows are in heat. It's as sound system as you could have.
Good. And Walter Jr., I remember when I visited your yard 2 years ago, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but I know there might have been issues in the farm in terms of fertility or maybe heat detection. And I know one thing you did say is that you would like to keep the better cows in the herd for longer. Can you tell us how that has evolved over the last 2 years, or what your experiences on that is today?
Yeah, well, I suppose 3 years ago we were averaging around 68% 6-week calving rate with around 70 cows, and like now up to now this year we're around 76% 6-week calving rate. So we're really jumping up fast in our 6-week calving rate.
Excellent, thanks for that. Just a question in for you, Paddy Daly. Paddy, you put in the drafting system, and I believe back then that the drafting system for you was probably the key piece to the whole system. What was the thought process, and did it take long to install, and what do you use it for just outside drafting cows? Is there many events that you use it for, and how often do you use it?
Yes, Alan. Well, the drafter works hand in hand with the collars. We put it in just for efficiency, to make life easier. It was a job trying to separate cows out of the milking part of running mop brush. It doesn't go easy, you know. Cows get excited, the ones behind it then start shitting, you know. It takes extra time. Yeah, and that's just for AI. And for, as I said on the video, for drying off cows, very, very, very good system. It's just, we didn't realize it when we purchased it, how efficient it is for just that job alone. You go through your phone. We have milk meters in the parlour, so I'm given less than whatever 8 or 5 or 6 litres a day. We record the numbers, click them in on the phone after milking. They're there waiting for us, so we let them off and bring them in the following day and dry them off, hassle free. And then also for vet care or foot pairing, you just put in the numbers, separate them, job done.
Perfect. Okay, thanks for that. Question in there from Mike O'Dwyer, and I'm going to ask you this, Liam Delaney, because you mentioned that you put the collars on maybe 3 weeks in advance of breeding, and the question is 3 weeks an adequate time to have collars on cows before you want to AI?
Preferably, if you had them on for 4 or 5 weeks, probably better. But it just takes a few weeks for to get a baseline on them and get their activity just to find our baseline. So if you had 3 or 4 weeks, yeah, you want that at least.
Another question, but it was from an anonymous attendee, is that how many of the host farmers are doing their own AI?
Yeah, I'm doing my own AI.
So Paddy, the question was, how do you know when is the correct time to inseminate?
On the app, it's color coordinated and it also gives a number. When it's in green, it's usually between 8 and 23, and that's the best time. If you see a cow in heat and she's below that number, she's not ready, or she's gone past that number, or that color, she's gone past her optimum time for AI. It's very simple. It shows you on the phone the best time, you know, either AI or at this milking, morning milking or the evening milking. Very straightforward. And also I was told if you're doing sex semen, it works very well because it gives the optimum time for AI and increases the chance of conception.
Paddy, while you're there, when you introduced the system into the yard and you were tail painting, how quickly did you get rid of the tins of paint?
Oh, we didn't use them at all. We put our trust in the system. To be honest with you, Alan, good few of my friends, Garrod and Johnny Flanagan, there on the video, and my neighbours, they had the system and they swore by it. So I wasn't going to doubt it. I put my trust in it and it worked 100%. Yeah, I suppose, John, there's a few questions here on, you know, data and the accuracy and the reliability from the owners now of the company, Livestock Intelligence by Allflex. What can you tell us about what's going on behind the scenes, John?
Yeah, I suppose maybe first going back to what Liam Delaney mentioned there in terms of about how long we want to have the collars on the cow, or indeed the tags, in terms of the system getting to know the animal. In truth, in theory, you know, 3 days for heat and about 7 to 10 days for the health aspect. The collar gets to know the animal. But, you know, as Liam mentioned there, of course, the longer you have them on the animal in advance of breeding, you get to pick up when they're cycling, etc. But the actual system gets to know the animal very, very quickly. And there's machine learning in the collar as well, so that collar actually knows the behaviors of that animal, and what's normal and what's abnormal. So very, very powerful. And as you mentioned there, Alan, in terms of the accuracy, I think with any data or any prediction or any algorithm, it's very important the amount of data that's plugging into that algorithm for the strength of the prediction. Around the world, we are monitoring 6 million animals. So there's information plugging into our algorithms of 6 million animals. And I suppose the question we're always asked is, you know, okay, so you're monitoring an animal in New Zealand or in Holland or in America, and you know, the system might be slightly different. But the fundamental point is that the biology remains the same. So when the Murphys or Liam Delaney or Paddy looks at an animal that's coming into heat, in Ireland, the rumination decreases, the grazing stops, and the movement goes up. And that's the same across the world. So a farmer in America is doing the exact same. And indeed with health, of course, as we know, the movement or the locomotion will have stopped as well as the rumination. So really, really powerful, accurate alerts. And you know, we're proud of the algorithms and the years of research that have gone behind the scenes for those as well.
John, while we have you, I know the numbers are huge, but what is the global footprint of Allflex / MSD collars worldwide?
Yeah, so again, look, a very good question. And I think, you know, when you range from the likes of Israel, who would have about 90% of their cows with monitoring technology, through to Holland, who have about 60%. Northern Ireland is about 40%. Ireland here, we're about 5% and even less in the Republic of Ireland. So there's a significant opportunity here in Ireland, you know, to increase or maximize the number of animals with monitoring technology. And indeed, you know, we are global leaders in terms of traceability here in Ireland, and we have a very, very secure food production system. And, you know, all of our export markets indeed look for this. And this is the next step. You know, I think if we look across every other industry, it's all about technology and monitoring the inputs and monitoring the outputs of what's happening. And, you know, if you look at sporting players, we're all big fans of GAA, and we all see them with the GPS monitor on the back of the under jersey, monitoring the kilometers that they're doing. And look, it's a similar type of system here what we're going to do with animals in terms of you know, that traceability story and securing our food supply. Great opportunities. And again, we are going to be leaders in this area.
Thanks, John. A question from a guy called Conor Ryan. Do we need an absolute clear line of sight for this to work? And what about tree covers and buildings and walls and roofs? And Liam Delaney, I'll ask you that. Were you getting readings from inside the shed and throughout the calving boxes and through maybe the slats in front of the robot and out the land? What type of kind of connectivity had you, Liam, in your farm and across your land base?
Yeah, you'll get the antenna at the minute is up on the pillar of the shed, but the whole shed is behind it, so it'll pick them up in the shed behind it. So, like once the animal comes in line of sight once or twice a day, that'll still pick it up. But so like it doesn't have to be in sight the whole time. So once it picks up every 20 minutes, so once it's in the area a couple of times a day, that's all you want.
Yeah. Kathleen and water, and you can decide between yourselves who will answer this one. But I know when your cows go down the road and a little bit out of view, I know while we may not have real-time monitoring, I do that when the cows come in the parlour, you get the download. So you might just explain that the movement of your cows, because your land is fragmented, and I know you're crossing a river and going down the road and maybe down behind some trees. But maybe just give us your experience of it, and then how it's all captured at milking again.
Yeah, well, our cows now, like, they're going down a bit, like, but like you say, every time the cow come back to the yard, all the data is being detected, like, you know. So the heifers are a bit far away, all right, it's not picking those up, but this year now we hope to keep the heifers around the yard and try and pick them up the same as the cows. So once they're within a certain area, it's definitely going to pick them up. Like.
Perfect, thanks. John, I'm going to ask you another question. It comes from Eamon Fagan. He's a big user of the system over in Glasson, County Athlone. I think you know Eamon. But two questions for you, John. Can you scan the tag before you put it on a cow, number one? And will the system be linked to ICBF?
Yeah, two very good questions. I might just come back to what Walter mentioned there in terms of the fragmentation of the farm, you know, and it's something that is you know, relevant to many farms across the country, and indeed particularly beef farms. And we do have a range of solutions there. We do have a solar panel, where we can have a solar panel on the farm, down by the heifers, for example, and indeed monitoring every minute of the day. So as we all know, the system is monitoring the animal every minute, and it uploads to the caller up to the controller every 20 minutes. And with the solar panel, we can bring it down to the field and make that an option. So that might be worth asking Alan about later on, or maybe indeed tomorrow. But coming back to Eamon Fagan, thankfully he didn't ask any football questions. I thought he might have tried to get in a dig there. But in terms of scanning the tags before they put them on, so yes, we are delighted to offer that system as well. You can use the phone, you can scan the back of the tag, scan the animal number, and a very, very simple and efficient system in terms of registering the collar. In terms of collaborating or integrating with the ICBF, we're pleased to say that is a process that is currently ongoing, and we hope to be fully integrated with the ICBF by the 1st of April. We have a lot of software developers currently in touch with the ICBF and working very hard in the background on that. So we're looking forward to that announcement, because as a user of the system, I know the double data entry and all the rest, so I can assure you we're looking forward to that one, as many farmers are as well. I can see Kathleen and Walter nodding their head, they're looking forward to that one.
Yeah, just a question there for Kathleen. A question from Jack. If you're using the ear tags, can they be reused, and can they be moved from one heifer to a cow, or maybe if an animal is leaving the yard, can they be placed back on another animal?
Yes, that's no problem. If you're you can take out your used tags out of your cows that you're culling, or if you have a cow that died, you just take out the tag and you eliminate the data that you have put her in to the system, and then you upload the new tag to the new cow or heifer, as the case may be, and it's as simple as that. No tag ever goes to waste.
Thanks, Kathleen. A question, I think it's from Limerick, and Mark Finnessy. Have all the users of the system got rid of the stock bull?
So I suppose I'll ask Liam Delaney, any stock bulls above in Portlaoise?
No, no bull of any sort. No teaser bulls, stock bulls, any bulls. It's only the full of bulls in the AI box. That's the only bulls we have.
Good man. And Paddy and Richard Daly, bar the neighbours, the Jim and Joe O'Grady, are there any bulls walking the fences above in mine in County Tipperary?
Yeah, we still have. We always keep bulls, Alan. You do eventually get sick of AI. You know, if you're at it for 2 months or whatever, the stragglers. You know, so
it's for clean up, really.
Clean up, yeah. Not. There's very few bull or calves from the bull yet this year, and there's only 50 odd cows left to calve. So I have to say AI was more successful in 2020 than other years. So system obviously works.
Thanks, Paddy. And to the Murphys, I suppose, Walter Senior, have you got rid of the stock bulls?
Yeah.
No, yeah, we have a stock bull, yeah, but it's mainly used for the heifers because they're away from the yard. But cows, more, it's all AI with them for 10 weeks. So.
Okay, thank you very much. We have lots of questions, guys, so I'm just going to scroll through them for a moment, so just bear with me.
Okay.
I suppose, John, I'll ask you this question, so I will, because it's a question about people saying, what's the difference between ear tags and collars in terms of lifespan and warranties and the type of data collected, and is there any difference between both?
Yeah, so currently the battery life for the collar is 7 years, minimum 7 years, with a warranty of 5, whereas the battery life for the tag currently is 3 years with a warranty of 2. But I suppose a sneak peek, a bit of information, there is a tag coming, an ear tag coming that will indeed have a longer battery life of up to 5 years. So we're looking forward to that being available. So that's where it is. And look, in terms of monitoring and measuring the animal behaviors, it monitors the same behaviors with the exact same accuracy as well. Slightly different in terms of how it monitors the rumination and taking in movements of the jaw and the hide for the tag. But in terms of the accuracy, exactly the same, which is fantastic. You know, of course, the benefit for the collar is the longer battery life and that it drives our drafting gate as well.
While you're on the drafting gate, John, there's a few questions about connectivity and the integrations with the gate. So you might tell me what system MSD Allflex offer in terms of gates, because, and then Paddy might can feed in afterwards about the labour saving and time saving with gates, because I think, Paddy, one goes hand in hand for you, but maybe John, you might just answer the first part.
Certainly, and I'll be very brief because I think Paddy's bit about the sort gate is fantastic, and I really enjoyed this clip. We do have our own drafting gate driven by our collars. Now, of course, there are other drafting gates out there in the system, many good drafting gates. But indeed, we have installed, and I'm sure EFS have as well, installed collars and tags on farms with, we'll say, competitor gates. And indeed, if they're currently being driven by an EID tag, so be it, and they can continue to do so. We have farms where they are currently utilizing the monitoring data and using that to plug into their app for their drafting gate. In the future, we do hope to have EID within our tags and RFID then as well, so that we will have potential for further integration, which we're always open to. So it's important for other companies to know that we're always up for collaboration.
And Paddy, do you want to add to that in terms of the drafting gate? Because we had some great footage from your farm, and it looked absolutely seamless. I suppose my question is, how long did it take the cows to adjust?
Very quickly, Alan. You run them through it after milking for a few times, and there's no fear. They just know it's the walkway out. They walk through it when they're being separated. There's no issues. It's another labour saving device. It works, and you know, it goes hand in hand with the top collars. Yeah, it's all about making life easy.
Okay, thanks, Paddy. There's a question here from an anonymous attendee. It's saying, after 7 years, what is the renewal process in terms of costs in comparison to day one outlay? I suppose I'm going to take that question, and I suppose the reason why is we're at this 10 years. So what I always say to everyone is we've got real-time data And as John says, the collars will last 7 years. Well, we can guarantee that now because we've been around for greater than 7 years. And there are a lot of people entering the market. And there's probably a lot of numbers being mentioned out there. But I'd always ask people, you've got to go on the real-time data. And for our customers over the last number of years, there's always been what they call trade-in plans. They're loyalty plans to keep people involved, to keep people interested, and to reward people that have been committed and loyal to the system. So, and they usually work at 10, 15 or 20%, just depending on different times of the year. So I suppose to answer the question is, after 7 years, the product is not value less. There is value in the product. And it's usually in the terms of a trade-in schemes. So I said I'd address that one myself because it would be unfair to ask the users that are only at it maybe 2 to 3 years. Let me see, there's lots of questions. I'm going to ask some more, guys. And Liam Delaney, in terms of Wi-Fi, what type of internet connection have you in the yard? And is it Wi-Fi or do you have a hard cable coming to the yard?
No, we have Wi-Fi. We're lucky enough that there's a tree mast just down the road, about quarter of a mile. So we're linked into that. So our Wi-Fi is very good. There's no problem that no issue there.
Okay, John, a question again from a guy called Paul, and is, can the software on the collars and the ear tags be updated? How often does this happen, and what are the costs?
So currently, anybody that has the system will know, and I'm sure all the callers, all the speakers on the call now will vouch for it, that currently any update that there is for the system, it is automatically sent through to the users. So it's a fantastic opportunity for people that currently have the system, so that there's no cost to the farmer. And I suppose coming back to just what you mentioned there earlier on, Alan, in terms of the battery life and further developments, you know, from an MSD animal health perspective, you know, we are the largest animal health company in the country. And indeed, we have 70% of the vaccine range. So there's vaccines that the Bovilis range you may all be familiar with, the likes of Leptovoid H and Bovipast, etc. They haven't gotten to where they are to be market leaders without significant research and development. And the point there being is now with the Allflex brand, MSD are keen to invest further into research and development. So down the line, there's going to be significant advancements in the area of technology, and a really, really exciting opportunity. And really, for Irish dairy farmers, we are certainly going to capitalize on it as well. So the future is certainly very bright for Irish dairy farmers and the use of technology.
Very good, John. Thank you very much. I suppose a question for Patty, when you firstly got the system and you downloaded the app, do you mind telling the audience how quickly it took you to get used of the app, the user face, and how quickly it take you to get used to interpreting the data and making the correct decisions?
To be honest with you, Alan, very quickly. You get used to it through using it. And as I said in the video there, you can't mess it up. You can't delete the whole system by pressing the wrong button. You use it, you get familiar with it, and it becomes second nature. I'd also have to say the backup service is excellent. A few times I've had an issue or a question more than an issue, just a phone call away, any day of the week, 7 days a week. You just ring. It was John, I think it was at the time I rang, and no problem, sorted it out. And he can connect into my system on his laptop, and he can go through step by step, showing me what I was doing wrong or what I needed to know.
Thanks, Paddy. A question for you, Liam Delaney. Look, there's so many interesting questions. It'd be wrong for us to stop because there's great momentum here. But Liam, a question from Frank. How successful was the collars on the heifers? Would you have any numbers, Liam?
We'd won Notting Calf.
Sorry?
We'd won Notting Calf.
Out of how many, Liam?
With the first year with 52.
52. And
yeah.
How about when they became cows in the second year? I know it's probably not.
Well, they're all in calf bar one, but we didn't put them all in calf.
Okay, so it was your choice.
Yeah, our choice. They're all in calf.
All in calf. Okay.
Yeah. Very happy with it.
Frank has also asked. You talk about broadband, and I know we spoke on this, but it's how strong of a reception do you need? And I suppose the Murphys, how good is the broadband? You're in the countryside, And I know you're down the end of a lane, and there's a lovely river and a bridge down there too. But how strong is the reception in your yard? It's only average enough, isn't it? In terms of
it's average. It's average enough, yes, Alan. It's we have 3G here, and that's
3G,
all it
okay.
is, and it's good enough to keep the system up and running, and we don't have any problems. All we have to do is keep the broadband tapped up, and that's it.
So are you working off a dongle, Kathleen, or are you working off a fixed line coming into the yard?
No, we're working off a dongle.
That's incredible.
Wouldn't have a fixed line, so yeah, and it's it takes about 20-25 euros a month for anyone that's interested, and that keeps it going for the month, and everything you need is worked through that.
Question here from Pat. I think Pat is the Leitrim man, and Pat is inquiring about heifers on an out farm. Liam, I'll put that back to you. Heifers away from the yard, and assuming there's how could one go about this? Because there's a lot of interest here in heifers, because heifers can be difficult, because when they're away from the yard, it's usually the out farm, and the out farm can be, look, on many fragmented farms, could be 1 kilometre, it could be 10 kilometres away. But where, Liam, could you see the benefits of this on the out farm for heifers? And I know you use it on the home farm for the heifers.
Yeah, but I'm glad to hear John talking about a solar panel system from an out farm. So I didn't hear that before tonight. So I'd be interested in that system. But my plan this year for 18 heifers for breeding this year, so we haven't got enough land at home to graze them. So the plan was to synchronise them and see as many we could get in calf through that, and then any the repeats, whatever ones, we may bring them back to the house farm, to the home farm, and put collars on them and try get them in calf the second round or whatever through that system. So that was my plan. But you'd love to have all the land together and you could have all the collars and all the heifers and it'd be perfect. But that's an ideal world. But so the out farm, maybe the solar panels could be a runner, maybe if it qualifies for Tom's grant or anything, does it, or what's the story on it?
Thanks, Ian. That's perfect. A question in from Brian Rowan from the Embrace Farm over in Laois, and the ones are doing very good work there. Yes. But I suppose I'll ask you, John, which is better, the collars or the ear tag, or what's the difference?
I suppose in terms of better, it's you know, they're the same thing in terms of what they monitor and the alerts and the predictions that they give. You know, it just comes back to the battery life, and really we'll say from a beef farmer's perspective. So I'm a suckler farmer myself, and as we know, the challenges are with beef, it's hard to say whether I'll be suckler farming in 7 years' time. So for me, an investment into collars is a tough investment, whereas we'll say with the tags and with a battery life of 3 years, it's easier to get in. Although, you know, I know some people have said that the tags are cheaper. When you look at it over in terms of the years that they last, you know, the collar might prove a little bit more competitive. But in terms of what it does, there's no difference. So very hard to say which one is better. It's each system is different. Some people prefer the tags, and some people prefer the collars.
Yeah, from our own perspective, John, what we're finding in the marketplace, there's a split of maybe 1/3, 2/3, and people just have a personal preference for the ear tag, and some people just like the collar, and it's down to a personal preference. And you're right, they do exactly the same thing. They're two different price points, so you know they meet the needs of people just in different ways. I suppose we're going to have maybe the last question before we wrap up, and I'll ask Paddy Daly this: what percentage of your cows conceived to the first AI, Paddy?
Oh, it was roughly about 70%, Alan.
Okay, and in terms of how many of your cows had you calved in the first 3 to 4 weeks this year?
We had over 50% in the first 4 weeks. Okay. We have 3/4 calved now, and by the end of March, there'll only be a few stragglers left. Out of 200 odd cows. So yeah, very happy.
Yeah. Okay. And Murphy, the Murphys, do you want to answer that question? Maybe Walter Senior.
Walter.
So we're on 76 We just gone by 6 weeks there now. Sorry, we did 76% in 6 weeks.
Yeah. This is our second season, so we're looking forward to getting better and better as each season goes by.
Good. And Liam Delaney?
We've 60 calved, there was 70.
Okay.
Instead, about 6 weeks calving now. Yeah.
That's good going. Good, good. And so look, just before I wrap it up, the base of farmers that we're dealing with anyone from Lely robotic milking systems, milking parlours, rotary parlours, and even suckler beef systems. So this is not just for the dairy farmer or the dairy farmer in a parlour. It could be a dairy farmer in a robot, just like Liam Delaney, or the dairy farmer in a rotary, or even the beef farmer. So there's a huge diverse range, and with the ear tag and the collar, then there's a huge choice in terms of the options and the price points. So I think there's something there for everyone. So to wrap it all up, I want to thank Paddy Daly. Thank you very much for having us on the yard and allowing us the footage, and for really showcasing a very, very clean and tidy drafting gate. I mean, the footage was spectacular, and thank you very much for that, Paddy.
Thanks, Alan.
Liam Delaney, thank you very much. As usual, you're a great man, and you're always inviting and welcome to us, and we appreciate that.
No problem.
To the Murphys, Walter Jr., Walter Sr., and Kathleen on International Women's Day, thank you very much. You've always given us a warm welcome, and we'll be back for the cup of tea.
That's
Thanks, Alan.
Looking forward to that, Alan.
John Hesson, thank you very much for giving us the view behind the scenes. As I said, MSD are now the owners of the technology, and for us, it's great to be involved with a huge global entity. So thanks, John, very much for coming on tonight.
Thank you, Alan, and well done to all the farmers involved.
Thank you. And to our own Steven Spielberg, William Conlon, who put this together in 3 or 4 days with an iPhone and lots of long nights. Thank you very much, William Conlon. And Sean Callan, our head of farm management support and IT here in the background, who's pulling this together. And last but not least, Michael O'Grady for conducting all the interviews and doing a great job. Michael, thank you very much. And we thank everyone, and good night. And to all the viewers, look, just drop us a line, send us an email, send in a message, and we'll answer more of your questions if you have them. And it'll be business as usual tomorrow. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Good night.
Bye now. Thank you.
Thank you.